Typhoon Rosita slightly weakens, but tropical cyclone warning signal number 3 still hoisted over several areas in northern and a central zone. Authorities are on a high alert and urge residents to flee their homes ahead of Typhoon Rosita's expected landfall early tomorrow morning. And a Japanese company Sumitomo to handle maintenance and rehabilitation works of MRT-3 next week as one of dalian trains set to join the daily operation. Good evening. The local government of Baler, Aurora has started to evacuate the residents in the coastal areas. The authorities also restricted any tourism activities such as surfing in the area in preparation for Typhoon Rosita. Nel Maribohok tells us why live from Cariguran, Aurora. Yes, Nel, good evening.
Rheena, good evening. Several villages, particularly in Barangay Sabang in Baler, Aurora, are now submerged in flood due to the giant waves from the coastal areas. Several houses in Barangay Sabang are now under knee-deep of flood water. This is due to the strong waves and the high tide in Baler. Residents in the area said they rarely experience this except when typhoon hits the province.
Inano na kami ng dagat na malaking alon, kaya sira na yun sa loob ng bahay namin.
This prompted the local officials to call on the residents to voluntarily evacuate.
Higpit pong pinapaalalahanan, ito po ay ukol sa bagyong paparating na ang pangalan po ay bagyong Rosita o Yuto. Kaya ibayo po ang ating pag-iingat.
Lahat ng level ng paaralan ay walang pasok. So yung ating direktiba ngayong simula ngayon ng madaling araw. Papalabas tayo ng direktiba na wala ng mga activity dyan sa may Sabang Beach.
The local government placed Baler under red alert status. Swimming and surfing are temporarily suspended. Despite this, some still couldn't help it but tried to do some surfing, although they were informed of the dangers of doing so.
Delikado siya kung hindi mo kabisado, lalo pag hindi ka sanay. May warning naman talaga na bawal na mag-surf, pero syempre, since na bihira lang kami makapag-surf at kaya tinitingnan namin kung kaya.
Rescue units and evacuation centers are now also on alert for the coming storm.
Lahat po ng mga ating mga responders, mga response clusters natin ay activated sila, fully activated. Ganun din po yung ating mga lahat ng mga resources like evacuation centers, lahat ng ating mga relief goods, mga sasakyan, transportation, at ito po ay naka-standby na.
Around 20 families have already evacuated and are now in the evacuation center in Baler. As of the moment, although there is no rainfall, the town here in Casiguran experiencing strong winds. And the local authorities have declared a red alert status in the whole municipality and have advised the families along the coastal areas to voluntarily evacuate. And that is our update. Rheena.
Thank you so much, Nel Maribohok, reporting live from Casiguran, Aurora. The effects of Typhoon Rosita is beginning to be felt in the province of Isabela, prompting disaster officials to order a forced evacuation among residents in low-lying areas. Here's why from Joan Nano.
Since 12 noon today, the Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council of Isabela Province has implemented a forced evacuation among residents in several towns. This is in preparation for the expected flooding in low-lying areas due to the intense rains brought by Typhoon Rosita. Covered by the forced evacuation are the towns of Jones, Echage, Benito Soliven, and San Mariano. Residents from Palanan, Divilacan, Macunacon, Dinapige, Santo Tomas, Santa Maria, and Cabangan were also among those who were forced to evacuate. According to the PDRRMC, intense rains will be experienced in the whole province beginning tonight until the whole day tomorrow. Because of this, the Magat Dam is also set to release water before it hits the spilling level. Relief and food items were also distributed among residents who are now temporarily staying in evacuation centers. Isabela Governor Faustino D. assures that the provincial disaster team is on alert and is ready to provide the needs of the evacuees.
Naka-in place na yung ating mga kakailanganin, most especially dun sa ating mga coastal towns. Maaga pa lang talaga nagpapadala na kami ng mga pang-preposition ng mga relief goods dyan sa area na yan.
Aside from flooding in some areas, the PDRRMC is also closely monitoring the possible landslide in the province. Classes in all levels in Isabela are suspended until Wednesday, while work in public offices are only half-day today. As of now, the whole province is starting to feel the intense rain and strong winds brought by Typhoon Rosita. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Ilagan, Isabela.
Meanwhile, the provincial government of Cagayan is calling on all residents in coastal and calamity-prone areas to voluntarily leave their homes. Monokson explains why.
Cagayan Governor Manuel Mamba has advised residents living in high-risk areas to take precautionary measures against flash floods and landslides. He also ordered local officials to bring residents in coastal barangays to safer grounds due to the threat of storm surges. Governor Mamba also encouraged residents with sturdy houses to take in neighbors whose houses are made of light materials. Flor Trinidad plans to heed the officials' plea and open her doors to some of her neighbors. She says she have already done this when Typhoon Ompong hit the province last September.
Yung kapitbahay po namin na syempre yung hindi ganun katibay yung bahay nila, dito po sa bahay namin nakituloy nung gabi po na yun.
Other residents have also strengthened the roofs of their houses by putting sandbags and fixing it with nails. Billboards are also removed and rescue trucks are in position for emergency deployment. A liquor ban is also in effect in the province to prevent others from getting intoxicated instead of preparing to flee. Classes in all levels are also suspended today, and work in government and private offices will be suspended starting tomorrow. With all the preparations in place, the provincial government is still worried because their calamity funds have gone down after Ompong's onslaught last month.
Well, kakapusin talaga pero hanggang dun lang tayo, hanggang hindi nila pinapasa. Kaya ako ay nakikiusap na makita nila ito at ipasa nila ito para kahit paano ay matutugunan natin if and when they declare a state of calamity dito sa ating probinsya.
Governor Mamba is appealing to the provincial board to approve the 2018 3.5 billion budget of the province. They are currently using the reenacted budget of the province last 2017. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Tuguegarao City.
Several farmers in Nueva Ecija have opted to harvest their crops early ahead of the onslaught of Typhoon Rosita. Victor Cosare tells us why.
Farmer Nardo Francisco is supposed to harvest in mid-November the inbreed rice seeds he planted last July, but he opted to harvest his crops early to prevent it from being damaged by Typhoon Rosita, which continues to threaten northern Luzon. Nardo's farmland is situated in a low-lying area in Nueva Ecija and usually gets waterlogged during inclement weather. Since his crops have not yet reached the optimal moisture volume, he might only be able to sell 70% of his yield.
Mas malamang yung pagkalugi dahil sa mahal ng mga bilihin, mahal ang pataba, mahal ang upang tanim. Kanya nga dyan sa bagyo na yan, alam magagawa, kaysa abutan ng tubig sa pinita, kaya sa pilitang hinarbis na nga.
The weather in Nueva Ecija remains warm and farmers are taking advantage of the sun rays to dry out their harvested crops before the rain starts to pour. The local agricultural office is also preparing for the onslaught of Typhoon Rosita and readied a livelihood aid to be distributed to would-be affected farmers.
Pag mataas ang moisture content yan, mabilis na magreseko, saka yung kanyang pagginiling mo yan, durog. Yun ang kuwanan. Pag mataas ang MC, pag bineld mo yan, ma-starch o madali madurog. Kaya yun ang kinalulugi nila, yung kakaroon ng poor quality yung kanilang grain development ng kanilang palay.
Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Residents in Itogon, Benguet are also being evacuated in preparation for Typhoon Rosita. Meanwhile, the local government of Itogon sets to demolish around 720 houses in the area. Let's find out why from Robbie de Guzman.
The Philippine National Police in Itogon, Benguet is closely monitoring the areas identified by the Mines and Geosciences Bureau as inhabitable as they are situated in landslide-prone areas. City of First Gate now seems like a ghost town after residents vacated their homes, leaving their livestock behind. Police in the meantime are closely monitoring the residents who will enter Barangay Luwakan, asking them to log in and out for the authorities to determine whether they are still residents who couldn't leave their homes. Itogon Mayor Victorio Palangdan says they are set to demolish around 720 houses and shanties in 10 communities identified as hazardous area. Some residents had voluntarily demolished their houses for them to salvage some materials, such as iron sheets, that they can still use to build new homes. Some miners in mineral ore also left their stockpile in their shanties. The mayor says around 264 sacks of mineral ores are still yet to be processed by the miners. Meanwhile, relief goods are now available in the evacuation centers for the families that will be affected by Typhoon Rosita. Robbie de Guzman, UNTV News and Rescue.
Pag-asa advises residents in northern and central Luzon to take appropriate actions against possible flooding and landslides. Leslie Lungbowen tells us why from the UNTV Weather Center. Yes, Leslie?
Yes, good evening. Typhoon Rosita maintains its threat over southern Isabela, northern Aurora area as it continues to move closer. At 4 p.m. today, the eye of Typhoon Rosita was located at 310 kilometers east-northeast of Casiguran, Aurora. It packs maximum sustained winds of 150 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 185 kilometers per hour. The typhoon is moving westward at 15 kilometers per hour. Signal number 3 is raised in Isabela, Quirino, northern Aurora, Nueva Vizcaya, and Ifugao. Meanwhile, Cagayan, Ilocos Norte, Apayao, Abra, Kalinga, Ilocos Sur, Mountain Province, La Union, Benguet, Pangasinan, Tarlac, Nueva Ecija, northern Quezon including Polillo Island, southern Aurora, Zambales, Pampanga, and Bulacan are placed under signal number 2, while signal number 1 is raised in southern Quezon, Batanes, and Babuyan Group of Islands, Rizal, Metro Manila, Laguna, Batangas, Bataan, Cavite, and Camarines Norte. Pag-asa reminds travel by land is risky over the areas under tropical cyclone warning signal number 3 and 2. Meanwhile, storm surge of up to 3 meters is possible over the coastal areas of Isabela, Cagayan, Aurora, Ilocos Sur, Ilocos Norte, and La Union. Moderate to heavy rains directly associated with the typhoon is expected over northern and central Luzon starting tonight. So Pag-asa advises residents in these areas, especially those living in low-lying areas and mountainous areas, to take appropriate actions against possible flooding and landslides. Sea travel is risky over the seaboards of areas with tropical cyclone warning signals, eastern and western seaboards of southern Luzon, and eastern seaboards of Visayas and Mindanao. Rosita is expected to make landfall over southern Isabela, northern Aurora area by tomorrow morning. Based on the forecast, it is possible to exit landmass by tomorrow afternoon and will exit the Philippine area of responsibility by Wednesday evening. That's weather forecast. Back to the studio.
Thank you so much, Leslie Lungbowen at the UNTV Weather Center. In other news, the Sumitomo company is set to take over the process of maintaining and repairing MRT Line 3 trains beginning November. Meanwhile, the Transportation Department plans to include one dalian train set to the daily operation of MRT Line 3. However, the agency clarifies that it will only run during off-peak hours. Bernard Dadis tells us why.
Japanese company Sumitomo will begin next week its handling of the maintenance and rehabilitation works of the MRT-3. Sumitomo is the original maintenance provider during the initial operation of MRT Line 3. Once Sumitomo finally takes over, it will conduct an overhauling of the trains to repair the damages.
Pabalik na po yung ating rehabilitation and maintenance provider, si Sumitomo and Mitsubishi Heavy. Yan po ay mag-uumpisa na next month. Actually po, in the last 2 weeks, araw-araw na pong nandito sa depot ang mga tao at mga engineers ng Sumitomo at ng Mitsubishi Heavy. Dahil po full-fledged, full steam ahead na po ang ating transition.
Meanwhile, the new Dalian trains finally hit the train tracks on Saturday after the long wait. Though only one set of trains was made operational, its operation somehow gave an assurance that the rest of the fleet would soon ease the burden of commuters, especially in Metro Manila. The 3-coach train, which passed technical assessment to include compatibility, reliability, and weight tests among others, ran well on Saturday, according to Transportation Undersecretary for Railways, Timothy Janbatan.
Okay naman. Kaya yun yung talagang objective natin at makita natin yung kanyang performance.
According to the plan, one train set will be added to the daily operation of the current 18 sets of trains of MRT Line 3. However, the Department of Transportation clarified that the Dalian trains will only run during off-peak hours on weekdays and weekends. The rest of the 45 coaches are still undergoing technical assessment and test. Meanwhile, coinciding with the holiday season, the DOTR is considering an extension of the train service operating hours to accommodate the surge of passengers, especially mall-goers and merrymakers. Bernard Dadis, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The country's oil players reduced pump prices by as much as 1 peso and 65 centavos per liter to reflect the movement of world oil prices in the domestic market. Most oil firms cut the price of gasoline by 1 peso and 50 centavos per liter, diesel by 60 centavos, and kerosene by 65 centavos effective Monday or today. Last October 22, the oil firms also slashed the price of gasoline by almost 2 pesos and nearly 1 peso for diesel and kerosene. Prior to the 3-week rollback, the world oil prices have been going up for several weeks. Up next on Y News. Several bus trips in Araneta Cubao terminal are canceled due to Typhoon Rosita. PNP is deploying over 30,000 policemen ahead of Undas holidays.
All police, customs police are also on floating status. Everybody. They will be replaced, all of them, by military.
And President Rodrigo Duterte places Bureau of Customs under military rule after a spate of drug smuggling. Thank you for keeping me company in the first part of Y News. More reasons behind the stories with Angelo, Castro III, and Thio after this quick break. I'm Rheena Villamor-Camara. Good evening.
Welcome back to Y News. We pick up from where Rheena Villamor-Camara left off. I'm Angelo Castro III. Here are the headlines.
We wanted to make sure yung status of evacuation centers talaga ho nakatutok kami ngayon, especially in the 4 regional offices.
And the RRMC on red alert as Typhoon Rosita continues to creep closer to northern Luzon.
Until the President is satisfied that everything is in order at that bureau. If there is no palusot na nangyari, earlier, then that means okay ang patakbo nila.
President Rodrigo Duterte places the Bureau of Customs under military rule after a spate of drug smuggling, but Malacañang said the move is just temporary. The Philippine National Police to deploy more than 30,000 cops to secure public places and other UNDAS-related activities. President Rodrigo Duterte orders the military to take over the Bureau of Customs. Malacañang says it is only temporary. Rosalie Cos tells us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte places all personnel of the Bureau of Customs under floating status. He also orders them to report to him in his office in Malacañang.
All police, customs police are also on floating status. Everybody. The Customs Intelligence Unit, they are to report to Malacañang, all of them. I am ordering everybody to report to my office. Maybe I'll issue the memorandum. I have yet to sign it. They were hold office there at the Malacañang gymnasium. Lahat.
The chief executive also orders incoming Customs Commissioner Ray Leonardo Guerrero to appoint soldiers in the affected post.
They will be replaced, all of them, by military. It will be a takeover of the armed forces in the matter of operating. In the meantime, while we are sorting out how to effectively meet the challenges of corruption in this country. Lahat sila nasa labas. And that's the reason why we cannot just dismiss them. And even as we deal the day-to-day reality, almost all of them there have been in one way or the other been charged of corruption. Lahat yan sila may kaso.
Malacañang says the military's takeover in the BOC is just temporary until the president is satisfied with the transformation of the agency and no illegal drugs and contraband will be smuggled. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo also ensures the operations in the BOC will not be affected because there will be smooth transition between the military and BOC, and the soldiers can easily acquire the skills on the operations.
Until it is necessary, until the president is satisfied that everything is in order at that bureau. If there is no palusot na nangyari earlier, then that means okay ang patakbo nila.
Meanwhile, Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara also defends President Duterte's decision to order the military's takeover of BOC. He said the president has the power or control over these agencies to ensure that all laws are observed and enforced. However, Guevara assures that civilian rule will be held supreme at all times. He insists that putting the Bureau of Customs under the AFP watch is a temporary measure to stop the entry of illegal drugs. He also said that retired General Ray Guerrero, whom President Duterte assigned as the new head of the BOC, is now a civilian. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacañang.
The Philippine National Police is set to deploy more than 32,000 police officers to monitor activities related to Catholics' observance of UNDAS. PNP also reminds the public to refrain from bringing things that are prohibited inside cemeteries and transport terminals. Leah Ilagan tells us why.
The Philippine National Police has yet to monitor any threats to the country's security ahead of UNDAS holidays. However, the PNP remains on guard and plans to mobilize more than 32,000 of its personnel to over 4,000 public cemeteries across the country. PNP Chief Police Director General Oscar Albayalde says police personnel will primarily monitor the security of the public since they expect around 14 million people to troop to cemeteries from Wednesday, October 31st to Friday, November 2. Force multipliers from local government units, civil action groups, and volunteers organizations will also be deployed.
Wala tayong namomonitor na any threat, no, dito sa celebration natin ng Undas. However, we will always be on our toes. Intelligence monitoring will be continuous. Dahil hindi naman natin pwedeng i-take for granted yan, baka may mag-take advantage yan. Especially so dun sa mga malalaking mga sementeryo.
Aside from cemeteries, police will also monitor situations in bus terminals, train stations, air and seaports due to the influx of people who are expected to travel to provinces to spend the holidays.
The key element in this security operation is police visibility, considering both its crime deterrent and reassuring effect on the public.
General Albayalde also reminds the public to follow the policy in terminal and cemeteries and avoid bringing any prohibited materials such as bladed weapons.
Yung pagdadala ng illegal na droga, yung mga bladed weapons, yung baril and intoxicating liquor. Bawal na bawal po yun at bawal ang magsugal doon sa loob ng mga sementeryo.
Albayalde also calls on the public to remain vigilant and to immediately report to authorities any suspicious person or activity. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue, Krame.
A total of 124 toll booths are now open at the North Luzon Expressway and the Subic-Clark-Tarlac Expressway to serve motorists bound for provinces ahead of Catholic's observance of Undas. The NLEX management says they have also implemented the Safe Trip Mo, Sagot Ko campaign since October 26 and will run until November 1. Free transit tickets will also be distributed to motorists exiting the Tarlac-Pangasinan-La Union Expressway going to SCTX. Meanwhile, for motorists with Easy Trip stickers and radio frequency identification or RFID, there are 27 electronic toll collection booths to drive through. All toll booths are open 24 hours a day. Then the RRMC is now on red alert status as it also closely monitors whether the affected local government units are implementing preventive measures and disaster resiliency in the respective areas. Aiko Miguel tells us why.
The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, as well as its regional counterparts in Ilocos Region, Cagayan Valley, Central Luzon, and CAR, is now on red alert status in preparation for Typhoon Rosita. Typhoon Rosita is expected to make landfall in the affected areas between 5 and 10 in the morning tomorrow. NDRRMC spokesman Director Edgar Posadas said the agency has conducted a pre-disaster risk assessment last Saturday and today. Discussed in the pre-disaster assessment meeting is the expected occurrence of landslides and a 3-meter storm surge in several areas in the northern and central Luzon, particularly in Isabela, Cagayan, Aurora, Ilocos Sur, Ilocos Norte, and La Union. The NDRRMC is also closely monitoring the LGUs on whether they have received and strictly implemented the memorandum that the agency has issued for the disaster response and preemptive measures in the areas that will be affected by Typhoon Rosita. This is to prevent a repetition of a severe damage left by Typhoon Umpong.
We wanted to make sure yung status of evacuation centers talaga hong nakatutok kami ngayon, especially in the 4 regional offices. And just this morning, a memo was issued by Yusek Halad to actually disseminate, including the MGB list of barangays to be affected. Yesterday, there were 4,198. So ang guidance ni Yusek Halad dun sa memo is to cascade it to the LGUs, make sure that these are monitored, these are informed for possible evacuations, and we are monitoring for compliance.
In line with this, the Malacañang has warned the local government officials who will be remiss on personally looking into the situation in their respective areas. It can be recalled that some local chief executives in northern Luzon were filed administrative charges against and are now under investigation for their absence during the onslaught of Typhoon Umpong. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said President Rodrigo Duterte will assign a cabinet member who will personally visit and look into the situation in the areas to be affected by the typhoon.
They will be accountable for neglect of duty.
The NDRRMC advises the public to stay away from coastal areas. Marine activities are also automatically being cancelled until further notice. The agency also advised the DILG and the LGUs to closely monitor the tourist destinations in their jurisdiction to ensure of the safety of all concerned. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Several bus trips in Araneta Terminal have been cancelled as early as now as Typhoon Rosita heads to northern Luzon. Buses under the Ceres company bound for Iloilo, Capiz, Antique, Aklan, and Romblon were cancelled. Aurora bus bound for Mindoro has also been cancelled. The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board has advised passengers to reschedule their travel once the weather clears. They may also ask companies to refund their tickets.
What we were informed when we were at the other bus terminal na yung Roro bus service na Roro papuntang Romblon, there was already an advice na hindi na pwede.
A Song of Praise or As of Year 7 grand finalists are now complete. Leslie Longbowen tells us why.
Di na ako aawit. Composer Romel Goho and
Last night's episode of A Song of Praise or As of Year 7 was a mix of excitement and suspense as this would determine the last grand finalist for this year. Romel Goho's composition, Di Na Ako Aawit, outshone the two song entries, making it his second time to compete in the grand finals.
Di na ako aawit kung ika'y aking lilimutin.
Simula nung ma-encounter ko yung ASOP sa TV, na-bless ako personally, not only as a songwriter or singer, but most importantly as a Christian. Kasi maraming mga magagandang values na mapupulot from ASOP.
Also among this year's list of grand finalists are 1 Milyong Pasasalamat by Edward Salde.
Hanggang langit walang sawang sasambitin. 1 milyong pasasalamat.
Binago Mo Ako by Jen Villarreal.
Binago mo ako.
Magpatuloy sa Mabuting Paggawa by Febs Colibao.
Magpatuloy sa mabuting paggawa.
Huwag Kang Bibitiw by Oliver Nara.
Kapit ka lang sa aking kamay, di kita iwanan.
God is With Us by Emmanuel Lipio Jr.
But in Him I trust. 'Cause God is with us.
Salamat Panginoon by Rex Torremoro and Elmar Jan Bolano. Pagbabalik by Joel Habelosa. Hiling by Jeffrey Lim. Makikita Kita by Joyner Dizon. Banal Mong Salita by LJ Manzano.
Ay di magbabago. Pinatatag mo ako sa mundo dahil sa banal.
And Tugtog by John Paul Salazar. The ASOP Year 7 Grand Finals will be held at the new Frontier Theater, formerly Kia Theater, on November 11. Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The GSIS Furies have been eliminated from the 7th season of the UNTV Cup, while the PITC Global Traders gains to advance to second round eliminations. Bernard Dadis tells us why.
Two-time champion AFP Cavaliers maintains its pristine record after routing the GSIS Furies 93-87 in a match held on Sunday at the Pasig City Sports Center. Best players of the game, Vicente Evidor and Boyet Bautista, led the AFP with their combined scores of 40 points and 9 rebounds. This fourth victory earns the AFP a ticket to the second round eliminations, while the GSIS bid farewell from this season after 1 win and 4 losses.
Hopefully, magtuloy-tuloy. Pero it's a long way to go. Siyempre, hindi pa kailangan mag-relax.
The AFP is set to face the Season 6 champions and the defenders in a match on November 8. Two-time champion Judiciary Magis meanwhile finally barged into the win column after clobbering the Ombudsman Grapbusters 104-65. Richard Litonwa and Edu Mustres combined 24 points led the Judiciary to victory, which has now climbed up in the rankings with 1 win and 3 losses.
Itong huling ensayo namin, hard practice na kami. More on defense kami dahil yung kami nagiging problema.
The Judiciary is set to battle with PhilHealth Plus, who keeps 2-2 win-loss record in a knockout game on Sunday. The Ombudsman, meanwhile, will collide with the NHA Builders in a non-bearing game on November 8. Rookie team PITC Global Traders also gains a wide chance to advance to this season's second round eliminations after defeating DOJ Boosters 74-60. Rod Basalio and Hadi Porter earned the best players of the game title after bucketing 22 and 15 points respectively.
Medyo kaya masaya kaming lahat dahil alam namin this game is very important to the team, no? We promised Boss Dave na pag-uwi niya, may lalaroan pa sa Liga. So eto, nagtrabaho naman lahat.
Backbreaker talaga yung dalawang tres na kinanan ng PITC, yung kay Regalado, saka yung kay Gicali yata yun. Bis na 4 na lang yung lamang nila, naging 10 agad eh. So kahit paano nakakabawas ng moral yun. Kaya hindi na namin kinaya, ba na muli.
Bernard Dadis, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
And those are the stories behind the stories in the second part of our newscast. Y News returns with William Thio. I'm Angelo, Castro III. Good evening.